Hello everyone, welcome back to Kitchen Science. Today we're going to go ahead and make some smoked beef tallow. Stay tuned. So this beef fat was sitting in my freezer in a 1 gallon Ziploc bag. I pulled it out yesterday, I let it thaw so that I could then put it on the sheet pan. Now I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it back in the freezer for about an hour. And I'm not trying to freeze it all the way through, I'm just trying to get it nice and cold. As it goes through the grinder, it's going to go ahead and warm up a little bit from all that metal on metal and metal on fat contact, and that's going to create a lot of friction. That friction is going to create heat, and unfortunately, we're then going to take our solid fat and we're going to turn it into liquid, but we don't want it to turn into liquid while it's sitting in the grinder because it'll actually prevent the process of the grind being formed properly. So we'll end up getting a lot of broken pieces, and we'll end up getting what they call a fat slick sitting inside of our grinder, and that's not good for what we want to go ahead and do. So what we need to do first is get this guy in the freezer. All right, everybody, now here is our grinding setup. So we have our grinder. The pieces of the grinder sat in the freezer overnight, so they're nice and cold. You'll notice that I'm actually going to use the bowl that's attached to the 6-quart KitchenAid to go ahead and catch everything. And if those of you have been around for a while and you watched my brisket burger making tutorial, you'll notice this piece of plastic wrap sitting over the grinder here. This is done so that when the fat shoots out, instead of shooting across my kitchen, it goes ahead and hits this plastic wrap and drops back into the bowl. So let's go ahead and let's get our fat out of the freezer and let's get started. All right, and here's our fat. It's been sitting in the freezer for about 30 minutes. It's nice and rock hard and ready to go. So let's start pushing it through. All right, everyone, so we're gonna turn the machine on. So I'm pushing this through with my fingers down in the auger. I'll then grab the plunger, push it down, and it'll come out the bottom. All right, everyone, for my last little trick, you'll notice I took off the saran wrap a little early so I could let you guys see what it looks like coming down into here. What we want to do right now is we want to get the rest of the fat that's sitting inside of here out. It's a little difficult to do, but what I've learned to do is I take the saran wrap that's left over and I make it into a really long piece and I kind of spin it together, almost like it's string. And what happens is I'll start with the thick end and I'll pop that in there and it'll get wrapped around the auger and it'll go ahead and it'll push everything out by the time it gets up to the cutting knife. So all the little bits of fat that are left in here will now come out because of this. So go ahead and watch. This is how it's going to look. Make sure to be careful with this part. It's all sitting behind the blade. All it did was push everything all the way out. And there it's all sitting right there. All right, everybody, here is our ground up brisket fat. We're going to go ahead and pop it on the smoker here, and we're going to get it nice and smoky. All right, everybody, so here is our ground up brisket fat from our brisket cook that we just did a few weeks ago. So what I have here is I have 1,360 grams, which is just under 3 pounds. What we want to do with this is I want to see how much fat I can actually get out of here while it's sitting on the egg and it's smoking. So we're going to filter out all the particulates when they are done, and we're going to see how much fat it ends up giving us. All right, everybody, so we're at 225. We want to push this guy up to 275, but I wanted to show you how this looks first. I want to get this as smoky as I can and get it as mixed in as I can. I added probably a half a cup of water to this. You do this for a clarification process. Even though there is a lot of fat and water and minerals and other things sitting around in the fat, you want to sort of give it a head start. So you add a little bit of water. That way, as the scum, we call it scum, or the découlage of the fat inside of the beef solid chunks we have right here, as they start to come off, they render properly and then they clarify at the same time, and all of that dirty stuff floats to the top a little bit better, and then it burns off a little bit faster, so your fat ends up being a little less cloudy. Again, it's just a little tip, a little trick. Just add a little bit of water and you'll have more of a clarified looking fat. So we've got 5 hours total. This is done. All the white bits are done. We've got all of our lovely little fat bits left over. So now let's go ahead and strain this guy out, and I'll show you how to do that. All right, everyone, so here is our bits. This is our smoked tallow. This is exactly what we want it to look like. Right now, we want to go ahead and strain the bits out first. These bits, throw a little salt on them once they cool off. They go great on salads. If you want to go ahead and give it a little bit of a beefy, fatty, crunchy zip, you'll notice that this is why they call it liquid gold, because it literally looks like gold. All right, so here's our tallow. Now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and strain it out. And so what I like to do is use coffee filters and let it just start coming down. Take it, we'll then go ahead and pop it into one of our mason jars. We'll put it in the fridge. This stuff is really, really good for cooking your eggs in, cooking potatoes in, okay, pretty much utilizing as butter almost as in, and then obviously using it for doing any kind of barbecue work as well. Also, putting it in a container like this and then sticking it in the refrigerator, it'll allow the fat to become solid, so less air will react to it, it'll oxidize less, and it will go rancid less. So keeping this in a jar like this, airtight, in the refrigerator where it's solid is probably the best place you can put it, other than popping it in the freezer. All right, everybody, and here is our finished product. This is our smoked beef tallow that we went ahead and made with our brisket trim. It's been sitting in the fridge for a couple of days. I just pulled it out to go ahead and do this quick record because I seem to have lost the other record where I had this sitting in a glass. It was nice and cleared. You can see all the little beautiful brown golden bits that were going on in there. Anyways, if you like this kind of content, please go ahead and smash that like button. And if you feel the need to and you want to see some more things like this coming up in the future, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And as always, have a great barbecue week.